Hey everybody, and welcome to week 5 of the Good Samaritan program. Last week we talked about saving and why it's important, and then in the practical application section of your coursework you had the opportunity to start using the online expense tracker to get you in the habit of recording your expenses, which will help you start cutting down unneeded expenses and begin to save up for planned purchases. If you haven't had a chance to set up your expense tracker yet, that's okay. You're able to access your online coursework at any time. Remember, your member login access never expires. So in part 1 of our lesson today, we're going to be talking about funding your future and the importance of investing. In part 2 of our lesson today, Pastor Miles McPherson will share the principles of the money test with you. This lesson will cover faithfulness and money. So remember to take notes and enjoy this week's lesson. Let's get started.
Hey, Pastor Jürgen Matthesius here. Wow, welcome back. You're going to love this week, week 5, lesson 5. It is going to be absolutely incredible. Today we're going to be demonstrating how to fund your future in exact terms. You're going to love this one. There's a story that Jesus tells in Luke 19 that powerfully illustrates the importance of investing for your future. There were 3 guys who were given a sum of money. One was given 5, another 2, another 1. The guy with 5 traded, produced 5 more. The guy with 2 traded and produced 2 more. But the guy with 1, out of fear, hid his master's money. Jesus says to him, why didn't you at least invest the money in securities so I would have gotten a little interest on it when I returned? Then he said to those who were standing by, take the money from him and give it to the servant who had doubled my wager. They said, but master, he already has double. And he replied, I tell you, to everyone who has, more will be given. But as for the one who has nothing, even what he has will be taken away. You see, God expects a return on his investment. Now, what did he have that the other guys didn't have? The guys that made money, what they had was they had discipline, they had ingenuity, and they had the power and the willingness to invest. And if you have that, you'll find that you're going to gain more. But the guy who did not have those things, who did not have the skill or the wisdom to invest, even what he had, he lost. The reason is because if you don't have the discipline of saving, the discipline of investing, you're going to find that whatever you have is going to whittle away. But if you are someone who saves, you're going to find that constantly money is going to be added to you. Being a good steward means that we're faithful with the finances God has provided us with. There are many people who think that giving, expecting a return, is unscriptural. Well, not only is it incredibly scriptural, it's the nature of God. The most famous verse in all the world is John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Why did God give his only begotten son? Because God was expecting a return of sons and daughters. So if it's good enough for God to give expecting a return, how much more should you and I give expecting a return? None of us are more godly than God. So we should understand that there is a power in giving, and there's a power in investing, and there's a power in return that God wants you and I to access. You might say, well, investing sounds risky. Well, not investing is actually even riskier. Let's say you bury $20,000 in the ground. If you dig it up in 10 years' time, it'll only be worth $20,000. But because of inflation, which is around about 3% a year, it'll be worth a whole lot less. Talk to your grandparents about how much they bought their house for and how much a car was worth back in their day, and you'll find that money depreciates over time. Time, interest rates, inflation, and other factors create a current that is ever flowing. Did you know that unless your money is invested and growing above the rate of inflation, which is around 3 to 4.5% average over the years, your money is actually going to be losing value on a consistent basis? The goal should be to save 10% of your income. This, of course, is determined by your level of income, but 10% is a good goal. The interest rate you get on your savings or investment should be above the rate of inflation. and start as soon as you can. As we saw in last week's session, if you save faithfully $2.74 a day, which is $1,000 a year at 10%, in 40 years' time, you will have saved over $500,000, and you'll be earning over $4,374 every month just in interest. But if you wait 1 year less to start saving, the amount you will have saved will be around $50,000 less. All right, well, let's have a look at some investment options. Some long-term investments would include a 401k, Roth IRA, retirement funds. Medium-term investments could include things like college and weddings, things that are shorter term that you're saving money for and you're putting that money away with interest. Short-term investments would include your emergency fund, first and foremost, and then planned savings for items such as your cars or your furniture and vacations. In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11, it instructs us to divide our investments among many places, for you do not know what risks may lie ahead. What that means is that we should diversify our investments. Don't put all of your eggs into one basket. Spread your investments around. You should never have all your investments in just one area. Buying a home is a great investment. Buying a home is a forced savings plan. Even if your house doesn't go up in value, it improves with inflation, growing virtually tax-free. Always remember to ask yourself these questions before buying a home. Number 1, what will it cost? Number 2, do I have enough money saved to get into a house? Number 3, can I afford the regular ongoing monthly house payments? Remember, your monthly payment will be made up of things like your mortgage, your real estate taxes, insurance, private mortgage insurance, HOA fees, Mello-Roos, maintenance, and utilities. It's recommended that your total housing expenses shouldn't exceed 40% of your gross income. A great way to understand how you're going to manage a mortgage payment is to run a mock budget. Once you know what your monthly payment could be, create a mock budget. So if your rent is currently, say, $1,500 a month, but your monthly house payment for the home you're wanting to purchase is going to be $2,500, put aside $2,500 for a period of time, allocating $1,500 for your current rent, and then put $1,000 in a savings account. You're going to benefit in 2 ways. First, if you can really afford the monthly house payment, and second, if you can afford this, you'll have more money saved up for the down payment as a result. What kind of loan should I get? The 2 loans we recommend are either a 15-year or a 30-year fixed loan. The differences between a 15-year and a 30-year loan are substantial. For instance, on a $150,000 mortgage at 7%, your monthly payment on a 30-year loan is $1,048. And on a 15-year loan, it'll be $1,348. The total interest paid on a 30-year loan will be $227,577. And on the 15-year loan, it'll be $92,683. So you can see that just by those statistics, a 15-year loan is going to save you over $130,000 in interest payments over the life of the loan, and you're going to end up owning your own home 15 years sooner. Can I pay off my home quicker? Sure you can. Here's how it works. For example, if you were to prepay your principal each month on a 30-year loan, your home would be paid off in just 15 years. And on a 15-year loan, your house would be paid off in just 7.5 years. A couple of tips before you do this is, number 1, make sure you let your lender know your plan. And number 2 is to make sure that you get your amortization schedule. This is your payment schedule, so you can keep track of your progress each and every month. Keep a copy of all your statements and payments that you've made, and make sure that your lender is applying your additional payments correctly. Try and pay by check. Have 2 checks, one for your regular mortgage payment and one for prepaying next month's principal. Note on the second check that this is what it's for. Take note of these bad mortgage options: ARM, adjustable rate mortgages, interest only, reverse mortgages, or accelerated or bi-weekly payments. If you're going to do a bi-weekly payment, make them on your own. Don't pay someone to set this up. So what can you afford then? Save, pray, and wait. Save money for a down payment. Pray specifically about the kind of house you want and the area you want to live in, and then wait. Keep looking and renting until that house in the right price range for your budget is available for purchase. Investing in your children's future. How prepared were you in financial matters when you left home? A lot of children leave home without any idea about how to manage their finances. We can't allow our children to grow up in the same vacuum of ignorance in regards to God's plan for finances. We must take the responsibility to train our children. We do this by setting the right kind of culture in our home in regards to money. Proverbs 22:6 says, "Train a child when they're young in the way that they should go, and when they're older, they won't depart from it." But if you read the verse preceding, it says that the rich rules over the poor and the borrower is servant to the lender. Then it says, train a child when they're young. So right there, even Solomon is teaching us that we need to train our children in biblical economics and understand the power dynamics between being a borrower and being a lender, and how the rich rules over the poor. Deuteronomy chapter 6 says, "And you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands that I'm giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you're at home and when you're on the road and when you're going to bed and when you're getting up." How do you build the culture you want in your home? Well, number one, decide and define what you want and make a plan. This sounds so simple, but I don't know many parents who have written down exactly what kind of culture they want in their home. Culture is like a seed. You have to plant it, water it, and nurture it so it can develop and grow. If you want children who develop a good, godly attitude towards money, you have to define exactly what that looks like and then put a plan in place to achieve this. Number two, our children will model our handling of money. Tell me and I'll forget. Show me and I may not remember, but involve me and I'll understand. People don't do what we say. People do what we do. Monkey see, monkey do. Look for opportunities to model. For example, the best chance of getting your children to eat veggies is for you to enjoy eating them in front of your children. Yeah, we know that sometimes doesn't work. But if we don't model money well in front of our kids, no matter what we say, they're more likely to follow the pattern that's been modeled to them with our lifestyles, whether that's good or whether that's bad. Number three, reinforce your children's behavior by reward, recognition, and encouragement. The final part of building the culture you want in your home is anytime your children model the kind of behavior and culture that you've been planting seeds for, reward them. Nothing like some praise and encouragement to light up a child's world and give them the incentive to keep repeating that kind of behavior. It all sounds easy? Well, it's not. Like everything in life that has any value, it takes time, it takes effort, and above all, requires perseverance. Teach your children to allocate their finances in these three areas. First, in the area of giving, which is their tithes and offerings. Secondly, is saving, a minimum of 10%. And thirdly, spending a maximum of no more than 80%. Of course, you can allocate more than 10% to your savings. This money can be divided into boxes or envelopes or something else. The main thing is that they learn the three areas and see the money going in and coming out. Remember to teach them to tithe. 10% is for the Lord, to go to your local church. But the giving does not need to stop there. Helping the poor is powerful and makes their giving so tangible. We should also teach our children about offerings. The tithe is the Lord's, but an offering is just that, an offer to God. Pay your children for their chores. Some people call this an allowance or a commission. Make sure you track this in a visible place. Not all chores should have payment. Some chores should be done for no pay just because they're part of the family. Then pay your children each week according to the chores that they have done. Teach them how, if they want to purchase something more expensive, that they may need to save a little bit more and create a fund for that item. If it is a need, then of course supply it for them. But if it is a want, then teach them to earn some of their desires and their wants. The way that it works is start with the item a child desires. Secondly, create the savings fund for that desire. And then thirdly, help them to develop the discipline of actually saving towards that fund. Encourage that, nurture that, develop that, and champion that. Followed by the purchase of the desired item. And finally, the enjoyment of that purchase, man, you'll find that the kids will look back and everything that you've taught them will be reinforced, and now it'll become a value, an intrinsic inbuilt value. Educate your child as they grow. That's the foundation for success. For instance, as they begin to get close to the age of 18, you need to teach them about the dangers of credit cards. The younger they are, the shorter term saving goals should be. As they grow older, you can help them set more medium to longer term goals. Giving your child allowances without working for it is teaching them the wrong disciplines. How are they going to become faithful and hard workers unless they learn these values at home? We don't want our children to have the constant expectation to be given things without ever having to work or save for them. This doesn't mean that we should be dictators either. We should be parents that are generous and providing for our kids, but at the same time, we want to teach our children that if they want extra, that they need to be prepared to work for it. Study your children's personalities carefully, and then prayerfully tailor your training in finance to suit the child. Something else you can do for your kids is anytime they get a cash gift for birthday or Christmas, especially when they're under the age of 3 or 4, of course, put it into a savings account for them. TV and video games inhibit growth. By the time the average child has graduated from high school, they've spent around 10,000 hours in class, but a whopping 15,000 hours in front of the TV. Limit TV to only a certain amount of time each day and make it a reward rather than a right. And watch what they watch. The old adage goes, good stuff in equals good stuff out. Garbage in equals garbage out. God stuff in equals God stuff out. And how about when they want to purchase their first car? You could do a 401 style match for cars. I've heard of many financial experts share what a good idea it is to do a dollar for dollar match for your child's first car. So if they save $3,000, you could match it with $3,000. Of course, you have to be able to afford to do this. You could match lower than dollar for dollar, maybe 25 cents to the dollar. The point is you are achieving a great purpose in helping your child out in getting their first car for cash, while they also learn and appreciate the art of working and saving for it. Of course, make sure you put a dollar limit on the match. Proverbs 22:6 says, direct your children onto the right path, and when they're older, they will not leave it. Don't settle for character disabled kids, not physically disabled, but disabled in the sense that they have no character because they have parents who allow them to do nothing and be nothing, giving no instruction on how to live a disciplined life. Children who spend their lives watching TV and playing video games while having everything handed to them on a platter is a recipe for producing character disabled children. Each generation is responsible for passing down God's principles to the next generation. This includes financial principles. Remember to invest in college for your children. Start this as soon as you're able to. In 2010, the average cost of college tuition at a public university was $32,600, and it is $121,800 for a private college. Projected tuition in 2028 for a public university is $92,900, and for a private college is $347,700. See our website for more information about starting a college fund. Retirement and 401ks. Match your employer if they offer this and invest in a Roth IRA or a 401k. This is free money, so make sure that you take advantage of this. The Roth grows tax-free, so this means you pay post-tax dollars into it and you get to draw tax-free dollars out of it later. Normal IRA or 401k, you pay pre-tax dollars and pay tax when you withdraw it. No one can be sure what the tax rate will be in the future, but the way the government is spending right now, it could be much higher than it is today. So we recommend the Roth. What about inheritance? The Bible says in Proverbs 13:22 that good people leave an inheritance to their grandchildren, but the sinner's wealth passes to the godly. It's not only a parent's responsibility to pass on an inheritance to their children, but a grandparent's responsibility also. And what about wills? Well, 70% of Americans die without a current will. A will can, 1, distribute your assets to the people you want according to your wishes. 2, it can provide for charitable distributions. 3, reduce the cost of settling your estate. And 4, determine the executor of your estate. If you die without a will, a probate court will make decisions on how your estate is to be distributed, which may not be according to how you wanted it to be. We have some great resources on our website that can help you do a will at no cost. And what about financial retirement? Retirement is no longer having to physically strain to earn a living. You can still work in retirement, just the kind of work you're going to do will most likely change. Scripture provides no examples of people retiring. Age is no obstacle for fulfilling the call of God on your life. Maybe the intensity or type of work may change, so forget about retirement. If you are physically and mentally able, then seize each day regardless of your age to help build the kingdom of God. Remember, Moses was 80 years of age when God decided to call him into ministry. And remember, when it comes to investing, get wise advice from trusted sources. And again, see our website for more information and resources to help you invest wisely. Wow, what an incredibly powerful lesson we just walked through. The power of investing. Some of those figures got me excited about putting money away and really beefing up my investments so that I can have a fantastic future. Remember, God reveals himself in Scripture as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He's a generational God. And we want to give our children and our grandchildren a great inheritance. So that means we've got to start living to leave a legacy today. A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, but the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. I don't want to be a sinner. I want to be smart. I want to be a good man in God's value and in God's esteem. So take these lessons, take these principles, begin to invest wisely, put those disciplines in action, and you're going to reap the rewards. I can't wait to see you in lesson 6. It's going to be incredible.
Anthony is part of one of the local churches here in San Diego, and he took part in the Good Samaritan program, and so we've got some great questions to ask him. And welcome to the program, Anthony. So great to have you with us, and thanks for stopping by the GSP TV studios.
Great, thanks. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. Now, what made you initially sign up for the Good Samaritan program when they advertised it in church? What kind of, gave you that inclination? Oh, I really want to be part of this program.
Yeah, so when I heard it was going to be offered, it just really sparked something inside of me, like in the financial world.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is something that I know really needs some work in my world.
Yeah.
So I thought it was like a great opportunity to touch on that.
No, that's great. And what was the most important thing you learned, while watching the DVD series?
I think really it was just having a purpose for my finances. Because in my mind, you just go through life and work, and really, a song comes to mind. It's that song from the Verb, Bittersweet Symphony. It's we're a slave to money and then we die.
Wow.
And most people kind of live that way.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I was living my life, just for myself, slave to money, I work, but just realizing that there's a purpose beyond that.
Yeah, that's great. Fantastic. Now, was there anything in the program that kind of surprised you? It was like, wow, I never even really realized that.
I think it was just really understanding that to further the gospel, or really just further the cause of God, it's going to take finance from the church. And it's something that I never realized beyond tithing, that there's so much more I can do to impact the world for Jesus.
No, that's great. And so what is one thing in your life that you have changed, financially, from a financial standpoint, after, taking part in the Good Samaritan program?
One thing I think that was huge for me was just setting up a budget, because I think that really is kind of just really getting real with yourself and saying, this is where I am, this is where my money's going, because without that you have no idea, and it's almost a little scary. It was scary for me. So I think putting that together and just knowing where it goes now has been so huge.
What would be one tip you would give to say, hey, this is how you can get more out of the course?
I would say really just make sure and do all the coursework online. I think hearing all the live scriptures and all the background in the class was great, but I think really getting in there and looking at some of the tools and some of the ways that you can learn to save, set up a budget, pay down debt, just kind of the real practical things. Just really begin to just set up in your mind, okay, this is possible. It kind of makes it achievable in your mind.
No, that's great. Now, talking about online coursework, what was your favorite tool that you used in the, what was your favorite part of the online coursework, basically?
Sure, I think it was just setting up the budget.
Yeah.
Really just gave me a little bit of a step in the right direction
Yeah.
of okay, this is something I can do that's really going to help me organize my life, organize my finances, and really give me some strategy and some tools to manage that.
That's great. Now you've completed the course, so you know what it's all about. What's one financial tip that you learned from the course? Maybe people haven't even done it, so what's one financial tip that you can kind of share from the course?
Sure. I think it was definitely looking at the buckets of where your finances go, whether it's putting 10% or more towards tithe and offerings, putting 10% or more towards savings, and then living on the rest.
Yeah.
And I think really that just kind of puts the priority to where things should be.
Now, part of the Good Samaritan program is not only the online coursework, but also we have the debt reduction program, and you also took advantage of that service being offered by Christian credit counselors to help fast track paying off debt. So tell me a little bit about that and how that's going.
Sure. Really, it was great for me just because I had a lot of debt out there that I'd accumulated just from years of mismanaging money. And I think just having that program really just gave me hope for this is possible to bring this down. And I think being able to consolidate credit card debt, being able to look at, okay, this is actually going to get paid off instead of kind of wondering, oh, is this ever going to get paid off? And just wondering like, my payments, like most of it's going to pay interest, and if the balance isn't going down, it seems like it's growing more than it's going down. And I think really it just gave me a lot of hope, and it actually has freed up finance where I'm able to save more, I'm able to give more, and it's really just given me a chance to take charge over my finances.
What is one thing that you have, maybe your priorities have changed a little bit since doing the Good Samaritan program? Obviously that they have. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So I would say my priorities have changed, and I no longer look and what I can make to buy stuff for myself. I mean, it's great to have things, but I think to get a bigger picture of, there's so much more I can do, and being able to give more above and beyond like a tithe, being able to give into something like our local church is going out and trying to buy buildings currently, and being able to give into stuff like that, just having the satisfaction that I'm making a difference, or being able to just bless anybody at any given point in time, and just having the ability and finance to do that, to me is huge, because there's no satisfaction and joy like being able to just have that freedom to do that, and that's been huge for me just to have that ability.
No, I think it's fantastic. That's a great priority, outward focused, helping people in our community. That's a great way of thinking. So, final question of the day: what is a verse that you live by and why?
So something in my life that I live by is just the desire to make a difference in the world. Just because we're called in the Bible to go into all the world, preach, make disciples. And that difference in my mind is going to take resources. And the ability to have the resources and the finance to do that is huge, and not being in a place where I'm paying down debt. I'm paying for things for myself that really, in the grand scheme of things, don't matter, but being able to just further that goal and that command.
I love it. That's great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Anthony.